What if there was a legendary object that could turn any metal into gold and even grant eternal life? That object is known as the Philosopher's Stone, one of the most famous and mysterious symbols in the history of alchemy. But beyond magic and myth, what does the Philosopher's Stone really represent? Today we're diving deep into its hidden meanings, ancient origins, and surprising spiritual power. Welcome to Occult Studies. If you enjoy deep dives into esoteric wisdom, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Imagine a world where nothing is fixed, where everything, no matter how crude or corrupted, can be transformed into something higher. That was the world the alchemists lived in. To them, the universe was not a dead machine, but a living organism, growing, evolving, seeking perfection. At the center of their philosophy stood the belief that all matter was born from one original substance, the prima materia. It was shapeless, formless, and hidden, but with the right knowledge, it could be purified, focused, and reborn. And at the end of that long journey, through fire and failure, waited the Philosopher's Stone. The stone was the perfection of matter. It was said to carry the ability to transmute base metals into gold, not by magic, but by aligning their inner essence with their highest form. But gold was never the true prize. That was only a metaphor. The real transformation, the one the alchemist longed for, was within themselves. To create the stone, the alchemist had to first become it. They had to undergo their own purification. Ego dissolved, desires burned away, spirit clarified. Only then could the sacred process of transmutation truly begin. This wasn't chemistry. This was initiation. The laboratory was a mirror. The fire was a trial. The metals were symbols. And the Philosopher's Stone, that was the soul, reborn, illuminated, and indestructible. The origins of this sacred science stretch far deeper than most realize. Long before medieval Europe, before the age of monasteries and Latin grimoires, there was Chem, ancient Egypt, the birthplace of what would become alchemy. There, priests and sages spoke of a process of inner refinement, of preserving the body for eternity and guiding the soul beyond death. They believed in something more than gold. They believed in spiritual permanence. This tradition found new life in Alexandria, where Egyptian, Greek, and early Christian philosophies merged into what we now call Hermeticism. From the god Thoth, whom the Greeks called Hermes Trismegistus, came a new kind of knowledge, one that united astrology, medicine, and the sacred art of transformation. Later, in the Islamic world, alchemy flourished once more. The great Persian alchemist, Jabir ibn Hayyan, or Geber as he was known in Latin, laid down the foundations of laboratory practice. He spoke of hidden essences, the balance of elemental qualities, and the elixir of life, what would later become the Philosopher's Stone. When this knowledge arrived in Europe, it found eager students, but also secrecy, suspicion, and danger. Alchemy was often practiced in silence, coded in symbols, hidden beneath layers of metaphor, not just to avoid the Inquisition, but because the truth it held could not be spoken. It had to be earned, understood, experienced. Because the Philosopher's Stone was too sacred to name directly, it was veiled in symbolism. The stone was described as red, glowing, and alive. Sometimes it was seen as a crystal, sometimes a powder, sometimes an oil. But always it was the product of union, of opposites brought into harmony. In alchemical drawings, this union often appears as a marriage between the Red King and the White Queen. He represents sulfur, fiery, masculine, active. She represents Mercury, fluid, receptive, lunar. When they unite, they give birth to something new, the stone. This process is echoed in nature. Think of the seed buried underground. It dies, it decays, and then somehow it becomes a tree. That's the magic the alchemists tried to replicate. They believed the same death and rebirth process could happen in the soul. Other symbols, the pelican feeding its young with its own blood, or the phoenix rising from the ashes, also speak of sacrifice, resurrection, and inner transformation. Perhaps the most enigmatic cipher of all is the Rosarium formula, which reads, "Make a circle with a man and a woman. From that circle, create a square. From the square, a triangle. And from the triangle, a circle again. And in that final circle, you will find the stone." This isn't mere geometry, it's cosmic instruction. The circle is unity, the womb of potential. The square is manifestation, the structure of matter. The triangle is fire, change, ascent. And the final circle is rebirth. The return to wholeness, no longer as an innocent, but as an initiated soul. To bring about this transformation, alchemists described a process called the magnum opus, or great work. It unfolds in 3 phases, each tied to both matter and spirit. First is the black phase, called Nigredo, the stage of decay, dissolution, and inner darkness. It is the death of the false self, the crumbling of illusions. In this stage, nothing is stable. Everything rots, breaks apart. But from that death comes potential. Then begins the white phase, Albedo, a time of purification and clarity. Here, the substance, or the soul, is cleansed, brightened. Symbolically, the alchemist begins to perceive truth, unclouded by ego. But it is not yet complete. Finally comes the red phase, Rubedo, when the opposites merge, when the purified soul is made whole. This is not a return to what once was. It is a birth into something new. The lead has become gold. The seeker has become the sage. Alchemical texts often warn that this process could not be rushed. Those who attempted to force the stone by greed or impatience were said to lose their minds or their souls. The fire that transforms can also destroy. Among all the seekers of the stone, few were as brilliant and as tragic as Dr. John Dee. Dee was more than an alchemist. He was a scholar of vast range, mathematician, astronomer, astrologer, and the personal advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. But his true obsession lay in the hidden laws of the universe. In 1564, he presented his masterpiece, a single symbol that he claimed contained the totality of creation, the hieroglyphic monad. At first glance, it looked simple, but in its curves and angles, Dee embedded the sun, the moon, the 4 elements, the 7 classical planets, and the spiritual forces behind all matter. He believed that by contemplating this glyph, one could unlock not only the secrets of matter, but of the soul itself. He wrote a full treatise explaining its meaning, but warned that only the worthy would understand it. Sadly, most of Dee's private manuscripts were destroyed by mobs who considered his work heretical. But his vision lives on, the idea that knowledge, symbol, and spirit can merge into a single key, and that key can open the gates of reality.